Hey everyone. What is it? Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Today I have Cameron and myself. We're doing a live. This is a live stream on YouTube, StreamYard, and I'm also on my phone here live on Instagram. So if you guys are on Instagram, click the link in my stories and follow us here live where you can ask questions and interact with us live. So myself, Stephanie Gutierrez here. I'm your host, and I'm an ADU advocate. I'm an ADU consultant. I have a podcast on all things ADU, and today we're talking about ADU hacks, along with a lot of property management hacks tied into the ADU space. And I have my good friend Cameron from ADU West Coast with us. Cameron, you want to tell them a little bit about what you do and what you'll be sharing today?
Thanks first of all, Steph, for having me, and thank all of you for joining. Hopefully, we can provide some valuable information today. Whether you have an ADU, whether you're starting your ADU journey, we're here to kind of go through some case studies. People build ADUs for all sorts of reasons. This one is more focused for some investors we've worked for, whether that's multifamily buildings or single family properties where people are building ADUs to rent them out to make income. Funny enough, I always tell people this. I would say for at least the single family ADUs that we're building now, because we do design build, which is architecture, engineering, and construction. Funny enough, I would say 85 to 90% of those are either a young adult or an elder moving back. So what I do is I take the project from design, engineering, we deal with the city, and then we also manage the construction under our contractor's license. So it's a true one-stop shop. That's a little bit info on me, but as Steph said, we'll go through some case studies. I'll talk about the build out, just a little bit about the project, and then she can kind of talk about what rent you could yield for that area, and so on. We'll talk about appraisals and stuff like that as well. So that's about me. And Steph, do you want to take it back over?
Yeah. So to highlight what you guys can expect for the next 30 minutes that will be on the call, we're going over some case studies that Cameron will be showcasing, whether it's residential, multifamily, and as he mentioned, some exit strategies. And I'm going to be chiming in when it comes to the property management side of ADUs specifically, right, for this call. If you guys have questions while he's sharing his screen, you guys can comment in the chat box, which should be on the right hand corner. And you guys can join us there and ask any questions there. So feel free to join there. And then I'll hand it off to Cameron so he can go over the first case study. Again, we'll be chiming in. It's going to be a very free flowing conversation because I think that's where people learn the most, right? As he's going over every project, we're talking about time frame, cost breakdowns. We're talking about the hurdles, right? I know that one of the multifamily projects that he's going to talk about, there were some hiccups, right, that came about during or somewhere during the process, and so that's where I think we really learn. Is I think everybody understands what the process is like, and you can Google that. But what are some of the hacks, right, that we can actually share with you guys, and that really happens through a case study like the ones we're sharing today. So I think this first one is residential, Cameron.
I'll go through this project here. So this was in Altadena, California. So for those of you that don't know, we can kind of zoom out here, right? It's all the way up. Look at all my restaurants. These are all the restaurants I want to try. But over here, this is above Pasadena for those of you that don't know. Out here, this was, we did this project, I would say, geez, it was one of the first ones we did is when we started our company. So I would say about 4 years ago. And this was one of these old, it was like this house next door, just kind of run down. It was just, I think it came out to be like 700 square feet on the front house. So not only did we build a new garage and an ADU, which is attached, which you can see right here, but we also added square footage and completely gutted the front house. So it was more of a remodel plus ADU. And actually, we built this for an investor. So it was more of a flip when they purchase this property. And I will warn you guys, ADUs might not work. Like it might not be beneficial to build an ADU in a flip in a lot of cases. And we'll go through the appraisals and why that is later on. Not only does it take time to go through and get these ADUs approved, which is, if you have a loan, it's going to cut it into that. But as I mentioned, the cost might not always pencil out. In this case, it did, and I'll tell you why. So here, like I said, it was a smaller home. We did a really nice remodel, and then on the back of here, we actually built this garage. There was no garage there. There was a garage there currently, which we just remodeled it. We added electric EV. And then right here, you can see that's a 400 square foot attached ADU. Okay. Reason why we attached this here, we were able to get rid of the solar panel requirement and the soils report requirement, which in most cases, if you build a freestanding ADU that's not attached, you will, in most cases, like I said, most jurisdictions, you'll have to do a soils report from a soils engineer, and you'll have to put solar panels on the actual ADU. So again, soils report could cost you, $5,000 or $6,000, possibly more, just depending on your lot. And then the solar panels could be, 10, 12, 15,000 plus. So just FYI, a little hack there. If you want to, not have that as a requirement, just note, if you do attach this ADU, you are limited to 50% of the square footage of the front house. So I think this eventually came out to be, it's been a long time. I think this came out to be like 1,500 square feet or something. So obviously the 400 square feet wasn't an issue. So, if this was 1,200 square feet, we're limited to 600 here, if that makes sense. And then I have some rough breakdowns here on this. So Altadena, it was about 15 months. Honestly, probably a little longer, just because there's a lot of issues once we started digging stuff up. We had to pause for a little bit and go back to the city on something. But I would say it's about 15, probably a little more, like I mentioned. And then the cost for just the garage conversion for market price design builds about 137K for that. Okay. So that's just kind of one case study there. Steph, obviously, you probably are familiar with the rents in this area. You're pretty close to Pasadena, but what do you think a one bed? Well, let's show them the video first, and then maybe you can see from here. I muted it because you can hear myself breathing in this one, which
I remember that one.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see, luxury vinyl plank floors. The ADU always has to have a kitchen and a bathroom. So, whether you want a studio or whatever, but shaker cabinets, quartz countertops, this is pretty standard as far as what a lot of people are doing.
Right.
So it looks nice. This is a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. The utility hookups, the washer and dryer hookups are in the bathroom there, which I just showed. Your fridge goes there. And here is your bedroom. So, perfect for rent. And I think Steph's going to talk about 2 strategies. One is a long-term tenant, which yields a different price than a midterm tenant. And just a heads up, there is no short-term rental, which is 30 days or less for an ADU. That it's a statewide law that they made that illegal. So just heads up on the short-term rental for that. Okay. But Steph, what do you think as far as, let's talk about the maybe long-term tenant? What do you think that would yield per month for that area?
Yeah, I'd say for long-term, you're looking at, for something that size, anything under 500 square feet, you're probably looking at 2,200 to 2,500, right? It's pretty pricey up there. And that's anywhere in LA County, Orange County. The rentals are pretty much the same at this point with the rents being so high. With midterm, typically the rule of thumb with midterm is that we can 2x the long-term rental amount, right? But one thing that I've noticed in doing a couple of the midterms is making sure that you factor in some of the costs, right, that you're taking on for midterm rentals. For example, one would be furnishing the unit. You have to allocate some money towards furnishing the entire unit if you're going to do the midterm rental strategy. The second thing is utilities, right? Typically with long-term, you're handing that off to the tenants, and tenants are responsible for utilities. But when you're doing midterm, you're taking on that cost. So make sure that factoring in the furnishing costs and factoring in the utility costs, that you're still able to cash flow. And for the most part, I mean, you are, but you really have to make sure that you know what you're doing, and that it's a whole different strategy. Both are very different strategies. I would say for long term, you may want to consult with the property management company if you don't have property management experience, right? And same goes for midterm. You may want to work with the co-host management company that does that. And I do both. So, I can help you navigate through both.
Yeah, and I can attest to just from working with a lot of investors and knowing people that own rental properties, it's worth more than gold to have a property manager because the laws in California, which that can be a whole nother webinar, with tenant rights and all that, it could become a huge issue if you guys don't do that right. So highly advised to manage your property, even if it's, an ADU in your backyard. I still would recommend that for myself. When I build an ADU, I'm going to definitely have a management company do that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, I'll say, with the long-term rental legislation. I mean, now you can't, as of June, you can't charge more than 1 month's worth of rent as a deposit, where before you'd be able to get away with 2 to 3 months, depending on whether it was furnished or not. Another one to highlight that's gonna be a game changer, is I forgot the name of the legislation bill, but it's in regards to credit and criminal backgrounds. So you won't be able to deny someone based on those two things, which is crazy, right? But these are all things that you need to stay up to date, as a landlord. And many times you're better off paying a property management on the long-term rental will be somewhere between 7 to 10% monthly management fee of the monthly rent. So if this can rent for 2,500, somewhere between 7 to 10%, but they'll take care of everything, right? You just collect a direct deposit every month. For midterms, I'd say it's more the 20 to 25% management fee, higher percentage, but then again, higher turnover, a lot more involved, not so passive, right?
Definitely. Yeah, and that's why, number one, you're really good at the ADU laws, staying on top of it, but you're also good at staying on top of those, tenant landlord laws, which again, you can get burned if you're not keeping up with those. So really important. So I have another one here. This is more of a larger multifamily building. So existing, you can see how long this is. This is in Long Beach. Okay, so let's zoom out where we're at, right over here for those of you that are familiar. So we'll go. Oh, my ceviche bar is right there. Check that out. So we go. So anyways, but look at this lot. So it's a huge long lot. There's an alley access back here. This is a total of 16 units, and you can't really see from the map, but back here is, I believe it was 5 garages, and there's units above the garages. Right here, it's all apartments, 2-story, and then in this area, you can see this little square right here. This was 3 garages below, and then 2 units above there. So what we did on this project, for those of you that don't know the rule with multifamily, it's 25% of the existing unit count at a non-livable space that you can convert. So on a 16-unit building, you could do 4 ADUs, up to 4 ADUs out of garages. So essentially, we did 3 garages into 2 ADUs. We could have done 2 more, but as a smart owner operator, right, for a multifamily building, they realized that these people use this as parking. You see here, it was hard to get a car in here, so this was just collecting junk. They just rented that out for storage pretty much. So there was no car that could really get in there. So what we did is we built 2 ADUs out of the 3 garages, and I have a video of that that we can walk through. But here's one of the units, and this is at, nearing the finished stages. So you might see some stuff that might need to be touched up, but it looks pretty good. These are both 300 square foot ADU studios. Okay. Everything has to pass Title 24, which is energy, basically building code, like what you need to build with. So they're all these units are going to have updated windows, insulation, as well as a mini split unit, which is like your heating and air. So you'll see we usually put the mini split heads, which is what you saw in the beginning of the video. If you want central air, that's fine. A lot of people do central air. It just costs slightly more to do that. And again, depending on how big your ADU is and what size that unit is. So again, here's the courtyard. You can see that's where there's a unit right here, but these were the garages. Here's the second unit.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see a pipe. See, there's the mini split head, a pipe through here. The reason why we had to work with a existing condition, there was a sewer pipe from the entire building upstairs that runs through here. So the owner, obviously it costs more money to remove that, right? It's going to cost a lot of money to remove that. So he just said, hey, look, I'd rather be more cost effective, which again, as an investor, I get it. I don't know if I'd want a sewer pipe in my kitchen, but that was
I
his
remember that one. Yeah.
yeah, that was his decision, you know. So we always leave it up to the owners, and that's one of the benefits about design build is, you know, we're going to tell you things like, hey, look, we can build something around this. It's going to cost you XYZ to relocate it. What do you want to do? And you know, we go through with that and kind of analyze each scenario. That way you're confident in that. But let's go through the numbers here. So this one was about, sorry, let me pause that. This one was about 14 months, okay? And then the cost was about 303,800. And again, these are all for design build because we do it all, right? Now,
So
there's always exclusions in the cost. I can just speak for ourselves. One thing that we don't include is appliances, and then city permitting fees, which your average ADU permitting fees are going to be around $6,000. And then appliances, you can budget anywhere from, you know, 3,000 to $5,000 on average for all your appliances. Now, I will say some hidden things and costs to look at. I would say a lot more with multifamily because they try to make you upgrade stuff. So on this property here, they made us a lot. You hear about a lot of people going all electric, which I would recommend. Just do an all electric unit. It's going to be way better for you because, like in this scenario, right, this is a multifamily property. Well, Long Beach has their own gas company and they want money, right? So they had 2 units and we said, hey, look, can we just do all electric to make it easy and just get the 2 electrical meters? And they said, no, you have to install 2 new gas meters because all of these existing units have gas. So again, that's more of a multifamily rule, and cities will try to get you to do that. Some cities, though, like Compton, will make you do the same thing with the water meter. So, reason I'm telling you guys this, in most scenarios in single family, they'll let you just tap into the front house. So, like right here, let's go back to this one. Most cases, if you don't want a meter, let's say grandma's living here, we just tap into this, which is not a big deal. But like I said, Compton made our client get a new water meter. The water meter cost $10,000 just for the meter, okay? And we had to run a line all the way to here. Same thing with this. The meters for your gas in Long Beach cost upwards of $10,000. It used to be like $3,000 to $5,000. The last ones that our clients installed was a lot more. So imagine 10,000, 10,000. That's $20,000 that you really didn't account for, right? So just make sure you're aware of this stuff, okay? But Steph, what do you think? I forgot what they rented these out for, but you know,
those are
no
smaller units. I'd
no
say,
parking either.
yeah, I'd say like 1,800. You know, on the low end, even
That's
without the
yeah,
parking, just knowing the area that it's in Long Beach. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
1,800. But there's some other units, right, that we've seen in Lakewood and like Bryant's, which we'll go over in a bit. I mean, some of these smaller units, believe it or not, they can cash flow, you know, a significant amount if you do midterm.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm thinking they're at 17 or 18. I think if I remember correctly, that's right where they're at.
And
So,
you know what? I do remember on this multifamily project, before you go to the next one,
uh-huh.
wasn't there an added cost that happened throughout the process that we
Oh,
weren't aware of? Because I think, like, you know, these are the things that nobody tells you, right? Like,
yeah.
and you guys weren't aware of because it's just part of the journey, right? As you're going through the process and you find these things out, and it's sort of a learning curve for everyone. But this one was an expensive one. I
Yeah,
remember.
so this one was definitely the utility. But what happened was in the middle of building these ADUs, a water pipe underneath the slab burst, and it wasn't our issue because we
Right.
did investigation. It was an existing because this building's probably 70 years, I would say 60 plus years old.
Right.
So it's an existing line that eventually corroded. So that messed up our entire unit.
Cost.
Yeah, and we, it wasn't us because it wasn't our fault. Obviously, it was our fault. We would have paid and redone everything, but the client did have to pay to redo, all the stuff. Just because, I mean, it was probably 4 feet in water. It was a main water line supplying the building. So yeah, it was really scary. Obviously, we thought it was us at first, and I was freaking out. But once we saw the pipe and saw the erosion on it, it was a no-brainer that it was an existing pipe. So yeah, that was a scare.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm sure, I mean, the good thing is you go over the proposals in detail and you set the
Yeah,
tone and you set the expectation on what's your responsibility, right, as a design and build, what's the owner's responsibility. And that was unexpected for both of you guys, but the owner does have to take, unfortunately, the accountability and the responsibility for those costs, those hidden costs that nobody tells you about. And so when you're thinking of building, right, if you get a proposal for, let's say, 150,000, give yourself a buffer. Like, don't just get a loan, for example, or get cash for 150,000. Give
mhm.
yourself a 20 to $30,000 buffer on top of that, because things can happen, and so they can delay your project. It can literally be a deal breaker, and so just consider that.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people, and again, we are design build. So one thing that differentiates us than a lot of people, in most, and I say most, in most cases, we give a design build price for the whole thing. We
Right.
do have exclusions. When I go through the contract, Steph knows this. I always, like, from doing a site visit, which is why it's vital to do a site visit. I always go through, hey, look, this could be a potential extra cost. This could be a potential extra cost. We don't know this yet. And then people go through with me, okay, what do you think that costs? And that way I can say, look, on a bad day, if the city makes you do all this extra stuff, or if you do XYZ, you might need an extra 25, 30,000, or you might need an extra 10,000, whatever it is. But very important to not just get a loan for 150 if your quote is 150, because there's always going to be a little extra cost. And there's always stuff that comes up in construction. One thing to note is underground plumbing connection, right? We essentially don't know exactly where that is until you get your sewer line scoped. And let's say, right, like, we
Right.
just did this in Fountain Valley, which is really rare. Let's say on this picture, if you can see my mouse, your sewer lateral comes in from your city main sewer into your property. That's called the sewer lateral. Well, in Fountain Valley, that was pretty much about it, it was done. So we had to replace that. There's no way as a construction company I could have known, when we signed the design build contract, which is doing a visual inspection, that was there. So I will tell you, hey, look, once we get the line scoped, if there needs to be underground upgrades, that's on the client. Again, it's very rare, but again, that's something that we go over with you. Um, but let's go on to this next one. This one is in Long Beach. So let's zoom out again, see where we're at, right? So I actually live not too far from here. And this is a client. We built 2 ADUs for him. He lives down the street here in a single family home, but he's acquired single family homes kind of throughout the last few years, which I thought was really, really smart. And what he did here, this is actually an updated Google Maps picture. You can see. Um, we finished this probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And this was an existing 360 square foot garage. So if you're looking at my mouse here, you can kind of see where that roof line ties in. That was the existing garage. We added square footage out back here to accommodate a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Okay, because he rents this front house out. He figured, hey, the garage is just collecting junk. Let's see what we can do as far as creating more rental units. And in his mind, he's going, look, right now, with interest rates and the home prices, he's like, why don't I just build on my backyard? I already have these rental properties that make
Right.
sense. And so he did that. And let's look at this video here. That's not it. Okay, here we go. So again, was an existing garage, and this is the addition portion. So this would be your kitchen, living room area. Again, shaker cabinets, quartz countertop, and then slider. If you guys want a slider, there's the mini split head, as I mentioned. Washer and dryer over there. Utility closet. Here's one of your bedrooms. So in it total right now with the addition is now 670 square feet. This bedroom's just slightly bigger, and it has an in suite like walk-in closet, which is nice. And then they share this bathroom coming up to the right.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that's
so
pretty spacious.
it's nice, yeah. And this is close to Long Beach State. I don't know what his goal is. He might rent to students, or the front
Hmm.
house is like a family. His daughter, I think, is college age, so I don't know if he's renting to her friends or her or what. But that's kind of more what I see here. Let's go through the numbers. Let me go down. Okay, so this one was about 13.5 months, and the cost was about 225K for design build for everything here. Again, just to remind you guys, or if people jumped on, we don't include appliances, we don't include city fees. I would say for both of those here, it came out to around 10,000 for those. So just for your numbers there. And then Steph, maybe talk about long-term rental. I think this is more of a long-term layout, right?
Right. Yeah, I'd say
What-
for something like this, 600 to 800 square feet, you're looking at 24 to 3,200, somewhere in that range. It really just depends on location and who
Mhm.
you're going to rent it out to. But for something like this, I think it's safe to say minimum like 2,800.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and I'll
Hmm.
follow up. I'll follow up with these investors to see what they're getting. But that seems about right where he was at least going to lease it out at, if I remember. But yeah, they're nice units. And one thing that you guys will realize is if you build these, I'm telling you, there'll be lines out the door. They'll probably, if you price it right, there'll probably be a bidding war for getting the lease contract.
And
Just from
usually the way I gauge it and how I tell my clients on the property management side is if you price it very close to market rent, which I use Rent Range or Renometer, right, to kind of gauge what the rental would be. If you price it very close to market rent, you'll rent it out within 2 to 3 weeks. And a good indicator would be if you list it, and you have showings and you have applications that first weekend, that's a good sign that you're pricing it right. But if you're getting showings and no applications, that's an indication of condition or price. And most of the time for these ADUs, it's going to be price because the condition is new, right? So I'd
yeah.
say that's a dead giveaway. Is if you have activity, like the market's going to dictate that, but try to price them very close to market rents. Sometimes you can get away with charging $200 to $300 more on certain amenities, or depending on where it's located. But if not, you can reach out to me and I can send you a rental analysis for free.
And one thing I recommend doing, especially like you said, for more amenities or just even layout for more rentability, is built a wall here so that it has their own little patio yard area. Especially if they have a pet, you can charge more for pets.
Right.
I recommend putting luxury vinyl plank in there, which is water resistant, pet pee resistant, pretty much everything. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I recommend. But definitely keep in mind your exterior space too, because if you're splitting these lots up, right, it's still one parcel, but in the aspect of splitting them off with a fence, you might want to keep that in mind on, hey, this is a yard area for the ADU. We'd like a yard area for the front tenant and all that. So just keep that in mind there. And then I got one more case study. I didn't want to make this too long for you guys. I know.
Yeah, this is perfect. I think
Yeah.
the main thing is giving people time frame, cost breakdowns, and some hacks in between, which I've mentioned a couple on the tenant screening side of things, on the management side, and all of the other hiccups in between. And as you guys can see, these projects are not taking 6 to 8 months, which is why, to Cameron's point, it's not a strategy that can be implemented for flippers, right? You're not going to flip a property within 2 months. Although I did hear that in the Valley, like San Fernando Valley, you can get approval for JDUs in 3 weeks or something like that. So if like you can
Yeah.
do that in certain counties and you understand the strategy, then maybe it's something you can do and sell off the property with plans approved or whatnot. But either way, the build out itself is going to take a while, right? And right now in this type of market that we're in, it's very interesting. It's not something that you can flip, build ADUs and flip.
For sure. Yeah, I would say, most of these are for family members, like I said. But
Right.
there is a lot of people too, which a scenario, let's look at this, right? So this guy built, a junior ADU and ADU, but let's say, if we have a lot of clients that do this, let's say he wanted to, live in the ADU. He's an empty nester, doesn't really need a lot of space. We have people that live in the ADU and then rent the front house out for 5+ grand a month. So even thinking down retirement or whatever, like, because not everybody has the money. I mean, who has the money to go buy an apartment building like this? You know what I mean? Like, even with investors, you still need a certain amount of capital. It's just not really feasible to go buy apartments and do that. So, but a lot of people do have equity. They do have single family homes, and it's like, hey, if I can create my own little apartment complex, kind of like this one here,
Right.
why not? If I have the means to do it, if I've owned this property for a while, and if Stephanie can help me out with funding and all that stuff, why not? And that's kind of our goal here, is to make you think outside the box, and hopefully help you guys out someday with if you decide to do this. But let's get going on this one. So this one's really cool. It's actually one that Stephanie knows him really well. Steph, do you want to explain?
Yeah, so he's the broker of the brokerage that I work with out of Huntington Beach. He's the owner of the property management company and also the owner of this property. And we like to highlight this case study as the SFR to triplex, right? Because that's exactly what he did. He was renting out the main home, which was originally, this is a mid-century modern right across the street from Cal State Long Beach.
Mhm.
Originally 4 bedroom, 2 bath in the front, right? And Cameron will go over what he did, but what he was able to do was turn this house from one door to 3 doors. And it took obviously time, it took resources, and I'll give you guys a breakdown on the numbers, but I'll hand it back to you so you can go over the process first. And we did an open house on this one. We did an ADU open house, and it was great because we were able to show people, well, how do you fit these doors together in the space,
Mhm.
and kind of show them how do you have to get creative. And then the location to top it off was great, right across the street from Cal State Long Beach.
Mhm. There's the pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Brian. I have nothing but good things to say about him. He's a great guy. And this was actually the first project that actually where I met him. That's where I met him. But if you can look at this here, let's break this down. So as I mentioned, there's a total of 3 units on this lot. The first unit is a junior ADU, and I like to use this tool to show people. But this right here is a junior ADU. I have a video of it. Okay. So as you can see, the roof line ended, somewhere right here from the interior. So this was about 150 square foot bedroom.
That was
We
the
added
fourth
another,
bedroom, basically.
yes. So yeah, it was a fourth bedroom. This is the front house. So existing, if you can imagine this square, where it ends off maybe somewhere right here, that was the existing house before. And it was a 4 bedroom, 2 bath. As Steph mentioned, we took one of the bedrooms, which was right here, and we added this square footage, which was 150 square feet. So this is a studio, what we call a junior ADU. The reason why it's a junior ADU is it built out of livable square footage of the front house. So a junior ADU has to be under 500 square feet. It has to be built within livable square footage. So in this case, the bedroom counted. Fun fact, if you have an attached garage, that they'll count as a junior, which is kind of nice depending on your lot. So just to FYI, if you want to build 2 ADUs, that's definitely a plus if you have an attached garage. But anyways, this is the junior ADU. And then this garage was existing garage. It was a little bit bigger. I would say that this is about 450 square feet, and we converted this into an ADU. So junior ADU, single family residence, which is now a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and then we have an ADU. So that's why Steph said, hey, this is a single family turned into,
Triplex.
3 units triplex. So let's
And
go
now,
through. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
So let's go through this. This is the junior ADU. This is a midterm rental. Okay, so he is renting it out, which Steph will talk about after. And in this video, he doesn't have all the stuff in there. It looks really good now with all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that washer and dryer is somewhere else. But this is just kind of my walkthrough video that I did at the time. Again, this is a smaller kitchen. This is a midterm rental, so it's for more traveling nurses, people that aren't really home a lot. Also, it's ADA. What ADA is wheelchair access. So there's a curbless shower, and then
Right.
where that vanity is, you can see, or you could see, that it is a floating vanity. And then, so that's that. And then you can see kind of at the end of the video, the other one, which I'll show you right here. So this is the garage. So what we just watched was this portion. Now we're going into this portion, which is the existing garage. Let me close out here. And then, so this is that side. And this is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath ADU. Again, we didn't add square footage. We just built this out of the existing garage space. Washer and dryer in the bathroom. And then we got our bedroom here. But you can see it's, these are nice brand new units. So the plus side
I really
is
like
you
the
are
bathrooms on those. Those were nice.
Yeah. And honestly, so I would highly advise against a curbless shower, because no matter how bad or how good you build it, it's always going to have water seeping out some way. So
Right.
ADA, it's great, but I would definitely put a curb if possible. And then these ones. So what do you think, Steph? Let's go through the numbers. Why don't we talk about the junior ADU first?
Yeah, and I'll go over also like the main house so they can see how much the entire property, right, is generating.
Yeah.
So the 3.2, which was originally a 4.2, is now renting for slightly less, but I'd say right now it's about 3,600, which is crazy, but that's your average rentals for a 3.2.
Well, plus they have the pool here too, which they have access
Right.
to. Yeah.
And it's a mid-century modern. I mean, it's really nice. That's a really nice property. The junior ADU is currently serving as a midterm rental. So that it's been consistently rented out since you guys finished the project, to travel nurses, to corporate stays, for roughly about 26 to 2,800, and that's the smaller unit, right? That one's about what, 386 or something like that. I remember
that one's about 305, so super
got it.
small.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, super small. So even better, right? Some of these smaller units, you would be surprised at how much they can cash flow. So this one's been renting out consistently for about 2,600, 26 to 2,800 midterm. The garage is being rented for 2,200 long term.
So yeah, right. This is the garage area. That's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 450 square feet. So, you can kind of see what kind of numbers we're getting. And again, it's not going to be like this in all areas. And then for this one, we charged them about 263, 890. We probably should have charged a little bit more for that, just FYI. But it took about 14 months or so to finish that. So those are the numbers. And, with these numbers for these, you guys just do the math on your own. In most cases, it pencils, all day, just depending on, what rent you're getting, which if you're in the greater LA, Orange County area, in most cases, like I said, it definitely would pencil. And I think that's why it's vital to, number one, just get the basic understanding of kind of where these numbers are falling. And then I think the most important thing is definitely talk to a lender because most people don't have,
right,
all this cash to spend. Number one, figure out your budget, talk to a lender, how much money you can take out. That doesn't mean, send all your documents. It's just, hey, look, have a conversation. Where are we at with equity? Where are we at with jobs and credit? And then that way you have an idea, because I can tell you all the time, people come to me and go, hey, I want to build a 2-story, 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And my first question is, okay, cool. What's your budget? And, and if it's under, even under 300K, that's not doable for something like that. So
right.
I think that's number one. And then obviously, finding professionals such as Steph to either locate property or, analyze your property, stuff like that. You can always let me know or Stephanie know. We'd be happy to help you guys out. That's pretty much all the case studies I had. Like I said, I wanted to keep it kind of short. So I know we had an hour, but why don't we open up to questions or whatever we have?
Yeah, and I'll add to the evaluation piece because I had a consultation with somebody yesterday and I was answering all their questions, but their main concern was, well, how much is it going to be worth after the build out? And it's not
Yeah.
as easy as comping it out, just like you would a single family home, right? You're going to comp it with anything within half a mile that's similar to that subject property. With
Mhm.
ADUs, it's very different. And he wanted to build on top of the garage, which makes it even more unique, right? Like, how am I going to compare this ADU to other ADUs in the neighborhood? We're probably, the data is there now, but very limited still when it comes to comping it out. So like with this one, I remember we did have an appraiser look at this case, and it
Yeah,
was
there was
the
some up
current
up up
value.
in here, like
Right, he had to
around
go
here.
to competing neighborhoods to actually justify the value for that one. So he had to go to like Lakewood, which was
Yeah,
nearby, right? Because
up
this one's
here.
in Los Altos, and he really had to do his research to come up with the evaluation piece. So you may have to hire an appraiser who knows what they're doing. Shout out to Sydney, who I think you guys should connect with. But he, with the evaluation he gave us was, I believe the property as is without the ADUs was about 1.4, and then after the build outs, it was 1.8, right? And so if you do the math on, the evaluation after the build outs and what they spent to build them, I mean, the equity was there from the get go. And that may not be the case everywhere, right? Because if you build an ADU in Compton, for example, you can't expect to build an ADU for 300K and then have a valuation of 300K a year from now. What I tell people
Yeah.
is it's still a great play. It's a long-term play when it comes to forced appreciation. Like the value is
Mhm.
going to be there, right? But you can't expect to spend 150 to 300K and then have that same evaluation within the next year or so. So you
Yeah.
just keep that in mind for long term.
Well, and to touch on that, so like, you brought up a great point. I think the main thing to understand on the appraisal side is there's two things to understand. Number one is what size of ADUs are in my area. And what I mean by that, right? If you're building an ADU for a flip, which again, be very careful, if you're building, let's say, 1,000 square foot ADU in the backyard, let's say one of these, right? You're building 1,000 square foot ADU, but all the comps in your neighborhood are only showing 600 square feet and under. You're not going to get the value because your ADU is overbuilt for what shows on the data. The second portion of that is, if like here in Long Beach, there's ADUs all over the place. In LA, there's ADUs all over the place. There's no problem finding a comp for an ADU, especially at
Mm-hmm.
this point. The more we do now, let's go down to like Lake Forest where we've done one. Parts of Laguna Hills or Irvine or like South Orange County where it's not really, number one, the home tracks are kind of built differently. They're not like detached garages, which are perfect
Right.
setup for it. Number two, these are just different communities, so you're not going to find like a bunch of ADUs over here. You know what I mean? So just be aware, number one, what sizes are these ADUs that are selling in my neighborhood with their homes? Because you can't sell ADUs. I mean, you can, but the city has to opt in. So how many homes are selling with ADUs? What are those sizes? And pretty much just look in your general area. That's pretty much just it for that. But Steph, did you have anything else, or do we have any questions?
Yeah, I'd say once the cities opt in to be able to sell these ADUs, then at that point, not only is the cost to build them going to go up, but the
Yeah.
evaluation will go up as well, and they'll get the value that they deserve. But right now, we got to do a little bit of extra legwork to get that value. I don't know if we have any questions with the people that are here in our call, or maybe anybody watching us live stream. Mauricio was in the call, and I know he had some questions, but maybe the people who are here now, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, which is on the right hand side. And if not, I mean, we're gonna this has been recorded live on YouTube and it'll stay there. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch the whole thing. I think we've probably answered a lot of your questions, right? It was how much is the average cost to build these? And these prices are very accurate with SoCal numbers, right? Specifically LA County. And I'll tell you, Cameron's pricing is very competitive. And he does amazing work. So you can go out and vet other contractors, and you're most likely going to get something similar to this, the prices that we shared today, as far as cost and then also time frame, right? And anybody who's saying that they can build an ADU under 100K, I would run. Grab your money and like run, because yeah, you have to vet the people that you work with. And then when it comes to management, if you guys have any questions on the property management side, maybe you started your project already and you're getting close to completion and you want to rent it out and you don't know what you're doing, reach out. If you haven't got started with any of it, consider the management, because a lot of people put energy and thought into the design, the construction, and then once it's completed, they don't know where to get started, or they didn't even think about the management or the rental aspect of it, and is it going to cash flow. So maybe it's a conversation to have with me. And then maybe the property that you have isn't necessarily ADU potential or ADU ready, and you want to do a 1031 exchange and buy something else with the intention of building. I can help you with that as well. And Cameron can chime in, and then he can also help me figure out, like a light feasibility. So let's say there's a property that you want to buy and you want us to take a look at it. We can do a quick analysis for you and kind of give you a heads up on certain things that you may want to consider before submitting an offer, before buying it, right? So just having people in your corner, and we just want to be a resource to you guys. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful. So I think we'll end it there. I don't think people have questions, but if they do, reach out to me directly or Cameron. And Cameron, you guys can reach out to him on Instagram at ADU West Coast, or what is your email or phone number?
Cameron at adwestcoast.com. And I can put it in the chat here as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate you. I think for announcements, I'll say we got a couple things coming up. There's the IMN event happening September 10th. We're going to be speakers, both Cameron and I. If you are going to be in Dana Point and maybe you want to stop by and check out this event, it's going to be very residential, but mainly multifamily operators in that space that will, we have the honor of being able to speak in those stages with other people in multifamily, but our specific niche of ADUs. So we're going to go learn a lot, but we're also going to share a lot of what we're doing and, keep helping people. So we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much again.
See you later, guys. Thank you.